the rupee depreciation is something that study abroad aspirants, parents, families don't take into consideration. And I see that day in and day out. In trying to save 20 paisa, 99.9% of the time you will end up paying 50 paisa more. My advice to students, parents, families, everyone is pay when whatever the rate is going, and when you have to pay it, make the payment. Please don't punt on foreign exchange rates. If you're going to take $20,000 on the forex card, you lose the forex card, you're going to be panicked. Your parents are going to be panicked. Parents also today, they're like, okay, I'm transferring 1,000 rupees to you. Once you confirm it, then I transfer the remaining 30 lakhs to you. Correct. So that is the mentality. But please make sure that your forex card is not your primary source of expenditure in your country of study.
इंडिया में क्या है मतलब put it on your house planners 10, 12 bachelor's master's work.
ट्यूशन फीस और जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज में कनेक्शन नहीं होता है, ट्यूशन फीस और स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग में कनेक्शन होता है।
स्कॉलरशिप इतनी बढ़ रही है पूछो मत।
Is it possible to get more money out of your money? Well, when you are planning to study abroad, Forex plays a very, very important role in it, because the money that you're paying them, you're not paying it in rupees, you're paying it in dollars, you're paying it in pounds, or whatever the currency is where the college or the university is situated. And to handle all this, you need an expert. Welcome to Beyond Borders with Handa. Today, we do have an expert who deals with Forex on a day-to-day basis. Not only that, he himself has done an MBA from abroad, an MBA from Oxford. We have Dave Mehta with us, who runs FRR Forex. It is an RBI licensed entity, and they have operations in 14 cities in India. So, welcome, Dave. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ravi. Thanks a lot for having me, and thanks a lot, Campbell, for this thing.
Well, the first thing that I would want to ask you is, FRR Forex deals with foreign exchange. Why should a study abroad aspirant even worry about all this or even try and understand this? His fee is going to be $20,000, it's going to be $20,000. How much of a role is Forex going to even play?
Very good question, Ravi. I think this is something that is ignored, or, study abroad aspirants are not aware of when they are doing the financial planning for their study abroad education, which is maybe 1 or 2 years prior, they actually want to start going abroad, is the fact that the rupee depreciates against most other global currencies, like the US dollar, the pound, the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, etc. Let's take, for example, about a month ago, the rate for the dollar was around 84.50 or so. Today, when we speak, it is 86.50. So the dollar has appreciated against the rupee by 2 rupees within about a month. As per the track record, the dollar appreciates against the rupee, which means that the rate keeps going higher at about 5% year on year historically. Okay. So that suppose if I'm planning for my education in fall of 2026, like you said, it's $20,000. If the INR depreciates by 5%, so round about 4 to 4.5 rupees. So against $20,000, that's about 80 to 90,000 rupees that I'm end up paying extra. So the rupee depreciation is something that study abroad aspirants, parents, families don't take into consideration. And I see that day in and day out. And, that is the biggest thing that I feel that students who are going abroad to study need to take into account.
हाँ, क्योंकि मान लो मैंने प्लान किया है कि मेरा पूरे कोर्स का खर्चा होगा 40 लाख रुपया, करेक्ट, और वो if it's over a 3-year, 4-year period, when you're talking about a 10-15% difference in the entire amount, तो 40 का 45 लाख हो जाएगा, which will be a substantial enough difference.
It is a substantial difference, absolutely.
So, what do you suggest as a student, or let's say as a parent? मैं अगर अपने बच्चे को भेज रहा हूँ, या as a student, I'm planning to take a loan or something like that. Can you give us some tips? How do I think about it? How do I proceed with this?
So there's really nothing that you can do about this INR depreciation, to be very honest with you. But you have to factor in. But when you are transferring money, what you need to understand is that there are multiple avenues apart from banks where you can transfer the money. For example, foreign exchange companies like ours, which are RBI licensed entities. The reason why we are in business is because we are able to offer better rates than what a bank can offer. And, same with all our competitors, right? Similar companies like ours. The reason for this is that today for a bank, foreign exchange is a value-added service. So you'll never see a bank advertise their foreign exchange business, like transfer your university fees with us or any of that. For us, it's our core bread and butter. So we are able to offer better rates than what a bank can offer. However, most people still transfer money through the bank because you can almost say about 95% of the money that is being transferred overseas for the purpose of education is still today being transferred through banks. So important thing to understand is the biggest saving is on your rate, and our rates, and I mean by companies like ours, the rates are significantly cheaper than what a bank can offer you, leading you to save anywhere between 40,000 rupees to 80,000 rupees every single year.
I'd just like to understand the math of it a little bit better. When bank के पास में जा रहा हूँ, bank, I understand that you are a big company and multiple other companies in this sector would be fairly big as well. But you're not comparable to an ICICI bank or any big bank.
Correct.
Then they have economies of scale. Then how can you give me a better rate versus going to something like a big bank? Because banks are operating at a much bigger scale.
So ultimately, even we route these transactions through a bank, but we negotiate a rate with the bank, for like $100 million every single year, which is why we have a significantly higher bargaining power compared to you as an individual who is going and negotiating with the bank. So if you have, let's assume you have to transfer $40,000 this semester, right? For a bank, you are not you may not be a very, very large customer. But for us, because I have a tie-up with a bank, because I have a negotiated rate for, $70, $100 million every single year, I am able to pass on that benefit to you as my customer, which is where we kind of win. And also the service our service, because we are focused solely on foreign exchange, our service compared to most banks ends up being a lot more seamless and a lot more smoother.
But ये जो आप बता रहे हो कि बैंक से भी जाके as an individual also, can I go to a bank and say कि सर मेरे को 20 पैसा 5 पैसा कम लगा दो? Do banks even negotiate or is it like blindly आज का ये रेट है आपको ये रेट देना है तो दो, नहीं देना है तो मत दो?
More often than not, it is आज ये रेट है आपको लेना है तो लो. Negotiating with banks, I'm sure you've dealt with banks. It's very, very difficult कि वो आपके साथ negotiate करेंगे. आप उनको बोलोगे कि मेरे को बाहर से ये रेट मिल रहा है तो what we in our experience हम लोग ने क्या देखा है कि बैंक का मैनेजर बोलेगा तो आप बाहर से ही कर दो, because they may not consider this to be as lucrative as any of their core banking services.
True. ये तो मेरा भी एक्सपीरियंस है. तो मतलब आई हैव नेवर स्टडीड अब्रॉड, बट फॉरेन ट्रैवल के लिए जैसे मान लो मेरे को डॉलर खरीदने और कोई करेंसी खरीदनी और मैं जाता हूँ, एंड मोर ऑफन देन नॉट आई सीन कि जो ट्रैवल के लिए जितनी करेंसी बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं चाहिए होती है, दैट्स वेरी स्मॉल अमाउंट कंपेयर्ड टू दिस. तो बैंक को जाके मैं बोलता हूँ तो बैंक बोल कि अरे राम जी करेंसी वाले जो हैं वो तो मेरे को यार सस्ते में दे दे रहे हैं. हाँ,
So pretty much the same thing applies, for your overseas transfers also. The similar concept applies because largely foreign exchange is a value-added service for a bank.
और ये जो because these transactions are fairly large for an individual, is there let's say if I'm coming to you, do you guys have कि नहीं we'll need at least a $10,000 transaction or something like that?
So that's the good part, right? Today we understand that all the students and parents are putting in their hard-earned money into sending their children abroad to study. So we understand that the student is going to be our student for maybe 2 years, 4 years, 3 years, depending on the course of the study. We also understand the quantum that is involved, right? So initially you may be only transferring $3,000 or 3,000 pounds for your deposit, but Later on, you may be transferring 25,000 pounds or $40,000 for your tuition fees. So for us, we want to keep it fair. We want to, our interest lies in the students and the family's interest. And, we stick by the principle that whether you're transferring $500 or $25,000, the rate will be more or less the same. There's
Not much of
not much variation.
बट देर एक और बात है, जैसे कि वी आर रिकॉर्डिंग दिस इन द एंड ऑफ जनवरी, कल के रेट में और आज के रेट में ही 20 एटलीस्ट ऑन द डॉलर देयर इज अ 20-25 पैसा डिफरेंस.
It is as of yesterday and today. So it's just
यार वो 20 पैसा वैसे तो सुनने में बहुत ज्यादा नहीं लगता, बट व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट $10,000-$20,000 अमाउंट्स टू अ लॉट ऑफ मनी. तो जो इतना फ्लक्चुएशन हो रहा है, इज देयर समथिंग दैट आई कैन डू टू मेरी टेक अ बेनिफिट आउट ऑफ इट कि अच्छा हाँ आज की जगह कल कर लेता हूँ, गिर जाएगा बढ़ जाएगा. और आर देयर एनी टिप्स दैट यू वुड लाइक टू शेयर ऑन दैट?
So the biggest tip and the biggest advice that I would give you or anyone else is don't punt on the rates, right? Don't speculate. कि just to give you an example, कल का closing dollar rupee rate was 86.48.
Okay.
Today's opening was 86.29 and today's closing was around 86.58. So you see the fluctuation. So Ravi, we are transferring $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, which is a fair amount of money. I'm not saying no. But there are factors, there are bigger players than us. We are not even a drop in the ocean. Trust me, we are not. Because the currency market today is a $4 trillion market today, right? So we are not even a drop in the ocean. So don't punt on the rates. Transfer your money when it's due. My favorite saying is, in trying to save 20 paisa, 99.9% of the time you will end up paying 50 paisa more. And I have seen that happen in maybe 8 or 9 cases out of 10. Yes, I'm not saying that those 1-2 cases may have gotten lucky, but my advice to students, parents, families, everyone is pay when whatever the rate is going, and when you have to pay it, make the payment. Please don't punt on foreign exchange rates because we are too small a fish in the big ocean.
नहीं होता क्या है ना कि मेरे चाचा के लड़के ने ये किया था तो उसके जो है 10,000 रुपए जो है वो उसने ऐसे बचा लिए. What you're saying is there is no method to this. वो उसकी किस्मत अच्छी थी इसलिए बच गए.
Absolutely.
Purely luck based.
In my 15 years of now working, I have very rarely been able to predict what the dollar rupee is going to trend at or whatever it is, because बहुत सारे factors हैं जो which are not in our control, which most of us are not even aware of. So it's better to just kind of stay out of that speculative game and accept what it is. And then once you paid the money, don't look back and say, "Arey, if I had waited for a day, this would have happened or that would have happened." एक बार पैसा दे दिया, मतलब भूल जाओ.
हाँ, ये तो मतलब so I have a very active interest in the investing field. तो वो तो शेयर मार्केट के भाव ऐसे को नहीं पता कि कल क्या होने वाला है, आज क्या होने वाला है, बोझ करना है तो
Exactly the same. It is the same rule applies.
the same rule applies. Another idea that I have about this is, say for example, now someone who is taking a loan or who has affordability issues, let's keep them aside for the time being. Suppose there is someone who can actually afford to transfer a larger amount. Would it be a good enough idea कि मेरा 2 साल का कोर्स है, 2 साल के कोर्स की फीस जो है सपोज $50,000 है, वहां पे अकाउंट तो खोल लिया मैंने, तो भाई पहले दिन ही ले जाकर मैंने $50,000 वहां पे डाल के रख दिया. तो इफ आई एम डूइंग इट वेल इन एडवांस, तो मेरा वो 4-5% वाला वो रिस्क तो एलिमिनेट हो गया.
There is what you're saying is right, that you are eliminating the risk. But what happens is there are RBI norms that we have to apply to. Okay, we have to comply with. Basically, let's take for example, you're a student going to the US and your I-20 says that your 1 year's fees is $25,000. So 2 years is 50,000. And if in the first month of starting the university, you are transferring $50,000, compliance will not allow it. Okay, because your I-20 very categorically says that your first year fees is $25,000. So you can transfer $25,000. There's no problem. But in that 1 year, but you cannot transfer the entire fees because there are certain RBI norms that we also have to adhere to, because we can't just suddenly say that okay, now 2 साल का पैसा मेरे को एक साथ ट्रांसफर करना है. It doesn't work that.
नहीं वो तो it's not just the Indian government. Any government will not want कि हमारे पैसे
But on the flip side, what we have also seen is that suppose it's the child's fees are due in December, right? And the parent says, okay, November end में the dollar rupee rate looks good. So chalo, let me transfer $10,000 to my child's account. That is absolutely acceptable, because that you might want to take advantage of that rate. But you cannot do that to do.
I'm sure you have dealt with a large number of students and helped them with their forex issues. Have you seen a pattern? Is there a are there any common mistakes that you have seen students make with respect to forex?
Oh, several. I think that several mistakes, but 3 stand out for me the most. First is most of the people, like I said, 95% of the money gets transferred through the banks. So students and families run to the bank first when anything money is involved. Second is the punt, right? Students and parents or families are punting on the exchange rate, which is something that is a big no-no, like I mentioned earlier. And the third thing is there are, certain families get misguided sometimes, and instead of transferring money to the university or to the child's account, they give all the money to the child on the forex cards. So that sometimes that we've seen the children carrying $20,000-$30,000 on their forex cards, which in my opinion these are the 3 biggest mistakes that the students make.
What's wrong with carrying a forex card? See, once again, I'm coming from my travel experience, and many a times I've taken that forex card. It makes life a little bit easier when transacting abroad.
Absolutely. There's no harm in carrying a forex card. So what we advise the students is take that $2,000 which you will require for the first few weeks for kharcha, वो आप forex card पे ले लो. But when you go there और bank account खोलोगे, तो tell your parents to transfer money to the bank account, because if you're going to take $20,000 on the forex card, you lose the forex card, you're going to be panicked. Your parents are going to be panicked. Your money is going to get blocked for those 3-4 days till you register a complaint with the forex card issuer, etc., etc. Then they refund the money back to you, and then again you have to transfer the money to your account. If your forex card gets lost, then you have no recourse but to transfer the money to your local bank account. So that's why carrying a forex card, there's no problem. But for your living expenses for the first few weeks, then it's always advisable to transfer money to the student's local bank account for their living expenses and to the university for the fees.
Do you know of any horror stories that have happened because of a forex card or something like that?
There are two, I think, the 2 biggest horror stories, that I have heard. Well, it was a panic mode for the parents. First is, like I said, on the forex card, 2-3 years back, a student, carried the forex card that the bank issued because the bank RM advised them to do so. And sure enough, in transit, the student left the wallet on the flight. So the wallet got lost. And sure enough, while landing, there was no money that the student had except for those few $100s in currency that he had carried. So panic sets in. The student called us that helped me do something. I said, we can't do anything because we've not issued the forex card to you, right? So and the second thing is that, like I said, the mistake before is don't punt on the foreign exchange rates. Like just recently, we had a parent who said, "Arey, pound is at all-time high, 107 rupees. I'm not going to transfer now. I'll wait for it to cool off a little bit." Fair enough. My advice was, please do it. Parent ended up transferring at, I think, 110 or 111 rupees. So 20,000 pounds, 3 to 4 rupees. The parent ended up paying 60 to 80,000 rupees approximately extra. So, these I think are some of the biggest pinches that people feel when, things don't go there.
हाँ मतलब भाई भाप के ऊपर जाने का रिस्क है तो भाप के नीचे जाने का भी रिस्क वो तो हमेशा
Exactly.
रहेगा ही रहेगा. Then the other part, अब आजकल जैसे इंडिया के अंदर यूपीआई वगैरह काफी कॉमन हो गया है. Lot of these issues like the forex card, etc., I believe can be solved by digital payments. I don't see that happening as far as what my experience is in the forex space, especially for the fee transfer part.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's not happening as prevalently as it should. There are lots of platforms, lots of companies that are, kind of digitizing this entire process. But in my experience, what I have seen is that parents and students want to speak to someone because this is a high value transaction, right? Today, UPI, you have no problem in scanning 500-700 rupees, 1,000 rupees, and paying the kirana wala or your Uber taxi driver or anything. But when you are transferring a lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 25 lakhs, you would like to have the option of speaking to someone on the if something goes wrong. So, yes, digitizing the entire process is definitely the way forward. There is no two ways about it. How long is it going to take? I'm not sure. But I think in a few years, we will have some more uptick on students, parents, and families using digital means to, kind of make these payments.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from a position of fear. यार कि
Yes.
500 रुपए में, 1000 रुपए में, even 50,000 रुपए में कोई गलती भी होगी तो मतलब मेरी लाइफ इधर उधर नहीं हो जाएगी. Because I remember very recently I sold a flat that I had in Jaipur. वो सामने वाला बोला कि हाँ ठीक है यार ना मैं RTGS वगैरह कर दूंगा. पहले तो मैं बोला कि हाँ ठीक है कर देना, मतलब पैसा तो बैंक अकाउंट में ही आना है. फिर मेरे को मेरे डैडी ने ही इतना डरा दिया कि नहीं ऐसे RTGS किया, उसका आया नहीं, आपका कोई रिपोर्ट्स नहीं रहेगा, क्या करोगे. और जो वो उसका सेल लीड वगैरह बनता है तो सेल लीड के अंदर आपको डिटेल तो डालनी पड़ती है. तो फिर मैंने उसको मना किया कि नहीं भाई मत कर, लॉयर से भी बात, लॉयर भी डिस्करेज कर रहा था कि नहीं यार तुम RTGS वगैरह रहते, उसको बोल कि भाई उसको बना के देगा, चेक का नंबर जो है और उसकी डिटेल सब लोग इसके अंदर डालेंगे. तो इवन दो आई एम वेरी कंफर्टेबल विद online payments and digital payments, but parents are involved and it's a high value transaction. Lawyer लोग भी ये बोल रहे थे कि भाई आप चेक रखो.
No, so you're right. There are a lot of parents that are absolutely okay with net banking transactions. And for me personally, I don't have a checkbook. I don't own a checkbook. But parents also today, they're like, okay, I'm transferring 1,000 rupees to you. Once you confirm it, then I transfer the remaining 30 lakhs to you. Correct. So that is the mentality. It's not that all parents are bold saying, in one shot, I'm going to transfer 30 lakhs to you. So that testing is always there, which yet is not available in digital platforms to transfer money overseas. Also, RBI, and fair enough, has strict compliance when you're transferring money abroad because money is going out of the country. So, you have to adhere to a lot of the RBI KYC norms and all of that. And especially RBI's policies on digitizing the entire process. So, I'm sure, things will become easier eventually. And, it will become a little more user-friendly.
Cost wise भी कुछ फर्क पड़ जाता है. Digital payments end up being cheaper or something like that.
No, that's how they are portrayed, but it's not true. I can say with clarity, it's not true.
So you talked about being compliant and being an RBI licensed entity. Why does it really matter? Why does all the paperwork matter? At the end of the day, it's a transaction going from X to Y.
Oh, complying and ensuring that all the paperwork is in order is very, very important because I think we are a developing economy, and RBI, in a good way, has been very, very conservative in terms of how they have opened, and the government also in terms of how they've opened up the economy. Because you must have heard earlier, you were allowed to carry only $7 when you moved out of the country. Then liberalization happened. Then went to $25,000. Now it's $250,000. So it is very, very important for RBI to ensure that they have all their checks and balances in place when they are transferring money abroad, right? And that is why we have strong propagandas of the fact that paperwork is necessary. So if there are, if someone comes and says, "मैं कल दे दूंगा," no, not happening. We will deny doing the remittance, because it's very, very important to be compliant with RBI and ensure that all the paperwork is in order, because um, money is going out of the country, let it be for the purpose of education or whatever it is, but that is some amount of capital outflow into the country, which is why RBI is, super strict in ensuring that there's no hanky panky being done. Money that they are ensuring that um, the money is actually going for the purpose that you are sending it out for, right? So if you're sending it out for, like I said earlier, right? If there is if your I-20 says $25,000 a year, you cannot send $50,000 in 1 year, right? We need to justify to RBI that that the I-20 says 25,000 and the parent has transferred 24,000, or the parent has transferred exact 25,000. So RBI has its ways to keep their checks and balances, and it is super, super crucial for us to ensure that we are not flouting any rules.
Fair. Now, when we talk about transferring money abroad, भाई हम लोग फॉरेक्स कार्ड के लिए कर सकते हैं. The student can have a bank account there. हम लोग डायरेक्ट यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर ट्रांसफर कर सकते हैं, और मैं जेब में भी $100 की $100 के जो है गद्दी लेके आपसे आ सकता हूँ. कैन यू टेल मी लिटिल बिट अबाउट कि हांडा तुम जा रहा है तो इन केस के लिए तुम फॉरेक्स यूज करो, और सम ब्रॉड गाइडलाइंस की क्या चीजों के लिए मेरे को अपना अकाउंट यूज करना चाहिए, कब मेरे को यूनिवर्सिटी को ट्रांसफर करना चाहिए, एंड स्टफ लाइक दैट.
For sure. I think that's a very, very good question. For students who are going abroad to study, we always recommend that you take the Forex card for the first few weeks of living expenses, right? Because when you land, you don't have a bank account, you need some money. I'm a high propaganda that take everything on the Forex card, right? But certain students and parents say, नहीं हमको $100-200 cash दे दो, मतलब currency दे दो, and then we'll take another $1,000 on the card. Fair enough, to each his own. But please make sure that your Forex card is not your primary source of expenditure in your country of study. Please, 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 we always recommend that you open a local bank account, because today, if you lose your Forex card, for you to get another Forex card from India is at least a couple of weeks. Second is that when you are in your country of study and you start using your local bank account, you are establishing your credit history in that country. So you're showing the government that you're a responsible spender. Third is, if you get a job on campus, you need a local bank account, because your employer, which will most likely be your university, will not deposit the money in your Forex card. They will deposit the money in your bank account, in your local bank account. So if you ask me, amongst the first 5 things that students must do when they land in their country of study is open a local bank account. I think that is super key, super important. And especially in countries like the US, it is absolutely seamless to open a local bank account. And I mean, I was there in 2006. I walked out with my account number and my checkbook and all of that. And I believe till date, the process still remains the same. So it's very, very crucial to have your local bank account.
हाँ, मतलब अगर आपको कार्ड यूज करना भी है तो बैंक अकाउंट के साथ में आई एम श्योर दे विल आल्सो गिव यू सम सॉर्ट ऑफ अ डेबिट कार्ड. नाउ इट्स ऑल एप्पल पे एंड सैमसंग पे एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, राइट?
उम्र हो गई है ना, तो हम लोग के दिमाग में तो अभी भी वो डेबिट कार्ड ही चलता है. So that's
There are debit cards, but everything is a lot more linked to the phone.
And I guess student credit card वगैरह भी इशू करवा पाते होंगे कि that's not really possible.
In the US, you can get credit cards, but you need to have a social security number, for which you need to have employment. So that is the only way I believe you can get a credit card. But those credit cards also don't come with large limits. From what I gather right now, the maximum limit that you can get is $1,000, which is fair enough for a student, which is a decent amount of money. But and this is also a very good a time for them to manage their savings, manage their spending, and also build their credit history slowly.
So let's say if I have to summarize this, Forex card is helpful, that is there, but relying only on the Forex card becomes detrimental. Big mistake. Fair enough, Dave. I think we are getting towards the end of the conversation, and before we end it, what are some tips that you would like to share with international students who are there, or even those who are planning to go there when it comes to foreign exchange?
I think I've said it all. I think just to summarize, a few things. Like I said, the understanding the difference between using a forex card and your local bank account. Don't punt on foreign exchange rates because, like I said, you are not even a small drop in the ocean. There are bigger fish there out. And third is pay heed to what all are the different options you have when you are making the payments in order to, for your fees and your living expenses, all of that. Um, there are entities like us which can help you save money over compared to banks. So, these are some of the 3, 4 things that I would like to summarize. Obviously, when you're already there, it's important to do budgeting and keep a tab on your expenses and all. I'm sure everyone's heard more than enough. So I don't want to elaborate on that. But I think to summarize these 3, 4 mistakes that students generally make, is something that we tell a lot of the students and parents who are going abroad to study.
So, thank you, Dev. Thanks for all that. And like, India में financial literacy की problem तो है. There is no doubt about it. And it becomes even more complicated when you are looking at not just India, but let's say India and UK. तो दो जगह की चीजें handle करनी पड़ती हैं. And I hope our students would have gotten a better idea about how to manage their finances, when to use a bank account or a forex card, and how to actually get that forex. अब ये ज्ञान धन की बदौलत आपको तो मिल गया है. Yeah, that's a nice pun. I like to pat myself on the back for that. Just to repeat, तो ये ज्ञान आपको तो ज्ञान धन की वजह से मिल गया है. I would suggest and request कि और लोगों के साथ भी आप ये ज्ञान को शेयर करें. For that, all you need to do is to click the share button and also like this video and subscribe to our channel. Ending today's episode of Beyond Borders with Handa with the hope that you don't make the mistake that Dave talked about in today's episode. Thank you.